All right, how's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Good, pretty good. How's your summer going?
I'm still working. I'm still working. So I'm ready for summer.
Ready for summer? Man, that's
It's nice.
good. How's this year been going for you so far?
Uh, to be honest, it's been a rough year, but uh, I think I'm finding my way out of it. And of course, it's just gonna make me a better teacher. So
Exactly. That's good. I like the optimism. And of course, that's what I'm here for. Hopefully,
yes.
after we get together, it won't be so rough on me.
Thank you.
So, all right, so um, I'm gonna be your coach, Darius. Yates. We met. I know we met earlier. You gave me a little background about your background in education and your experiences so far.
Yes.
It's very lengthy, by the way.
Excuse me.
Your experience is very. You had a lot of experience. Learning.
I know. It feels like I've been teaching for 20 years.
But
It
it,
ages you. I think it ages. I mean, as well as like I work with kids, so I think it does make you feel alive, but
right,
you know how it feels.
right, and working, seeing the difference in the ages in each
Yeah,
year. But you're actually in your which year? Can you remind me?
I'm in my seventh year,
Seventh. Oh, right. That's what. That's awesome.
finishing up my seventh. Yes.
Finishing seventh. Okay. So purpose here today, collaboration, co-op coaching. Definitely want to make sure you understand that we're on the same level. Um, I'm here to help you. Um, I just want to be an extension of your ideas and just help you find ways that to connect those ideas and become better all around. Um, so there's a few different parts. The first part I like to start off with is the strengths and weaknesses, and also the praise. I do like that you dressed up today and you're on time and really positive outlook. I could tell like from both of our meetings that you're open to communication, open to constructive criticism, and you're focused on getting better in any way you can, and that's awesome.
Thank you.
So, Goran, speaking of that, what would you say are some strengths or weaknesses you have or you've encountered thus far?
After these 20 years, as I've said earlier,
Right.
I think my strengths are similar to yours. Gauging. I'm
Mhm.
very good at setting up systems in my classroom. I always want my students to become. My main goal in the classroom is for the students to become autonomous. I want them to work. I want them to be self-motivated, like every teacher. I mean, that's the goal of my classroom. And it's, at such an early age, I think if you can start that spark,
Right.
you can have a huge fire by the end.
Mhm.
Like so, I try to set up incentives and rewards and things like that, so they enjoy the process of learning. I'm trying to shift their attitude on everything and their
Right.
outlook on everything. So I think I'm really good at that. I think that's because that's my purpose. What I that's why I don't like working with older kids so much, because I like reaching them as soon as I can. Um,
Exactly.
my my weakness is probably my my not my differentiation of content,
Hmm.
but my differentiation of how I teach.
Hmm.
So my practice.
Okay.
I'm not a lecturer. I don't like talking to kids so much.
Right.
Like it's hard for me. It's really difficult for me to sit there because I feel like they will be bored and I will get bored. I'm
Right.
not really a chatty person.
Mhm.
So I'm usually just like a referee.
Right.
Um, I give instructions for a game because my class is game based. Like everything we do in the class is a game.
Okay.
So I would like to learn how to engage with students while talking more, I guess, or differentiate my my practice, not
Okay.
the
Right. Okay. So I would say your strength is your engagement. Incentive. Could you? What kind of incentives do you offer?
I always set up uh, a lot of different incentives. Like the incentives are maybe 3 at a time, 4 at a time. For example, I'll set up an individual incentive. Usually at the top of my board, I'll make a racetrack and put magnets up there with each kid's initials on like a little magnet. And
Mm-hmm.
that's individual incentive. And I usually break it up into pieces so they can see their steps along the way. And then some days I'll label like, oh, on the green section, you can win this. It's
Right.
not about, I've seen the reward systems or the systems in early ed where they punish them.
Mm-hmm.
They take a clip down and something like that. I don't believe in punishment. I believe in teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real world will punish you if you don't learn. So I think the purpose of education should be at all times to teach students, not to punish them in any way. Um, so I set up that for an individual's incentive. I usually have like a popcorn or a pizza thing for a team thing that we'll do weekly or bi-weekly. And then I also have a long-term incentive like house point. Do you know houses?
um, have you?
You set up the class in houses and like it's like what's the movie Harry Potter. I learned this in Panama when I was there with some teachers in Panama, and we set up houses and they get to choose their mascot and everything like that, and so they have like a representation. And so this one is built on community service, like being a good citizen.
Okay.
When you put away things and you help your classmates out, you get this points, house points.
Okay.
And so that's another incentive I use as well.
Okay. Do you find that the incentives help motivate the students?
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
I
That's awesome.
feel
Um,
like they're working for the whole time.
that's awesome. I do really appreciate that you cater to the kinesthetic learners because, as we know, the majority of our students are kinesthetic learners. Saying on your weak, which leads me to your weakness. I know you said you refuse to be the auditory teacher. But is that the population you feel like you're not reaching?
Yes, exactly. You're exact. Kinesthetic learners, I reach easily because my whole class is movement, tactile. We manipulate in every subject, even in reading. So um, that's the ones I'm missing out on.
Okay. Um, so what do you think I can do to help you? What do you, let me ask this, what do you feel like their lack is missing or is lost when it comes to these students?
I think this is what I think because I did a I did a survey in my class
Mhm.
last year and put math on one side and reading on one side, and I gave them sticky notes, and I just wanted to know what their favorite subject was, math or reading, because their math was better than their reading. I teach math as well.
Okay.
I'm a math and science teacher, so their math and their reading, they're good at reading, but they were better at math. So I just wanted to know if they would choose math,
Mhm.
but they didn't. They
Mm.
chose, of course, reading. And I know why now. I had to think about it for a second. I was like, why did they choose reading? Because kids love stories.
Right.
So if I was able to come up with a technique or style of storytelling,
Mhm.
I think that would benefit my auditory learners.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Um, just hearing you say that and knowing like how um how engaging you are. What if you were like to display like a word problem or give the group several different word problems and have them maybe act them out or
It's a good idea. No, it really is. If you could make the sentences short
Mm-hmm.
for that, I never like cards or something. Maybe you can make cards and you can hand it to them. And these are role playing cards. I never thought that's incredible. I'm serious.
Definitely. Our a problem-solving model we used in Dallas Independent School District was the QWC, quality work criteria. It's one part is number of sentences and equations, draw a picture. Really, it's a problem-solving model, but it just has several different parts. And our math stations would align to the 5 different parts of the QWC. Number sentences equation, draw a picture, manipulative models. And so one problem they would be able to use at least one of those items from that chart to solve the problem. And you notice that when it comes time for like an assessment or something, they're able to call upon those resources to help them going forward.
So this is within the station, correct?
Right. The stations that we have at the beginning of the year were aligned to those. So one station would be manipulative models, one station would be number sentences and equation, one station drawing a picture.
What I was thinking of more, when I whole group them, I do a lot of whole group teaching.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Excuse me. I'm really sorry about that. But I'm speaking more of whole group.
Whole group. Okay. Okay, definitely. And thank you for letting me know that. So going forward, how do you think I can help you get to your goal of reaching or appealing to the auditory learners as well as the kinesthetic learners?
Well, the way I think I would learn best, for me, I think I teach to the way I learn, because I have these biases ingrained in me already, right? So that's why I think I miss some of the learners.
Okay.
In my presentation, not in the content. I think I usually get to them through the content,
right?
Because I show it in so many different looks. Like I just show it in many ways. But the way I learn is, I think I would love to like set up a one-on-one session like with you, like
definitely,
and then we can talk about like things that you use, and like you can model it or show me, or like even tell me a story, and then I can go and try it out or something like that, and then you can watch me try it out.
Definitely.
If that's possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. At the end, I'll get your availability. We can definitely set that. Because I'm the same way. It's hard for me to receive instruction and then do it without having seen it or having had any example of it or been able to do it myself. I learn by doing as well, so I can definitely understand that. Why do you think appealing to all learning styles is important to your practice in student learning?
I think the question answers itself because I am missing obviously some learners. I feel, you know, the broader we cast our net, the more students that are inside the net.
Right.
I think as well, my class is so autonomous and peer-based. People don't believe me when I say that because I do teach kindergarten usually, but if you saw my class, they run. I mean, kindergarten. I think most of the time we project this idea onto them that they're only 5.
Exactly.
I'm like, you're 5. You can do anything now. Your brain is fully developed. I'm like, your brain is there. Like, you're ready for the world. You go get in the car. You're gonna drive me to school. Like, you can do anything now. Like, this is so. I think the way my class works, if I can catch those students that aren't learning in that way, they can also become peer examples more often. Because usually the leaders in the class are the leaders because they benefit from that style of learning, right? So if I can make cast a net on leaders, it's better for everyone. We always want to diversify our leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I always choose some leadership in my class, of course. I mean, there's those kids that are just the leaders of the class. I mean, it happens naturally. So I think if I could reach some students that learn that way, they can explain it to their classmates that also learn that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it benefits everyone.
About how many students do you have?
20, usually 20 to 25.
25. How many would you say aren't that you're missing or aren't getting as well as you'd like?
It's not a lot, but I mean, it is in the number. It's probably about 5. I would say all the time. Like I always say I can get 80%. I know I can get 80%. I feel comfortable with 80%.
Right.
I think the other 20% I'm missing.
Is it usually the same 5?
Oh, you mean in that specific class? Yes, it usually turns out to be the same 5.
Right.
Which then I have to do one-on-one, but I would like to get them in the whole group, as I mentioned.
Right. Why is it so important that it's during whole group?
Because for my class, that's where a lot of the competition comes in. There a lot of incentive work comes in, and I know you can see it on them. You can feel it on them. Their disappointment in the stations. They're having fun.
Right.
They're literally having fun. They're just like, oh, and I'll push into the station or I'll pull some out, and so they understand the severity, I guess. I don't know, lack of better words, of the whole group situation.
Mm.
And I think I'm missing them. So if they could, because everybody gets excited about the whole group work. They're very excited because that's where we branch off from everything. We come together, we learn together, and then we branch off. Mm-hmm. And so I would like to reach them in that session to give them confidence.
Right. Simply. What if you made that 5 a group, had them rotate to your pull-out table and maybe reteach or re-instruct whatever it is they miss using that a word problem or whatever lesson y'all are going over there in an auditory way. That way they don't feel excluded and they don't, maybe I'm sure you wouldn't have a problem making it into a game. That way you would get, it's not necessarily one-to-one or whole group, but you're able to really focus on them for that 10 to 15 minutes.
I do that, but you just gave me an idea. Which I don't do, is to teach them how to learn that way.
Right.
Usually I'm just reteaching, like you said, but not really teaching them how to do it, which I think is very important in education. A lot of kids, they don't understand how to learn, and they need to know how to learn. Some of them just pick it up naturally. They're just like learners. Right. I mean, we're virtually learning all the time, I know, but like some of the kids need to be told, this is how you learn. Maybe I should do that. Maybe you're right.
Right. Sorry, we got a little off track here. But it's good because we're able to learn as well through the communication and through the discussion. So on this, how would you say you want to improve? What's a measurable metric that you can say you would want to improve from in regard to these students?
Well, I'm huge on, I mean, it doesn't seem like when you see me teach, but I like data because I like to measure growth. I want to know that my students are learning.
Right.
I'm competitive in my nature. So it's like, I want to see your growth. With that being said, I would like to, the best way for me is always, even in the way that I teach, I would like to benchmark them before the whole group session.
Okay.
Like see what they know and then test them after. Pre-test, post-test.
Okay.
It's very simple, right?
Right.
So I think that we could try that first, and then if you have some ideas, I think we could go from there. But I just like looking at data. If we could come up with some sheet to for a specific lesson to see what they gain and see how I could better reach them, I think that would work.
Okay, definitely. And we can see where they are currently in relation to the other students, and maybe see what lesson we can go back over or spiral back in using an auditory model, or maybe make that for our station so everybody is getting that reinforcement and they're not the only ones,
Yeah, absolutely.
that so they don't feel singled out.
Yes, yeah, that's always important.
Right. So the benchmark, the pre-assessment, post-assessment, what would improvement look like to you?
Them learning. I mean, just them getting something from the whole group experience. Like even even if it was just a little bit by a little bit, so I can learn about how they are learning more,
Okay.
it would improve my practice.
Okay.
So I could better. I'm very aware of the language that I use, even when I'm teaching. So I'm always thinking about this word or that word and how it moves up the line, like vertically, when they're going to first grade or second grade. So they can, so just the language doesn't hinder them along the way. So I think that if I become aware of their problems, more aware of it, or how their learning style, not necessarily their problems, my problem, then I can help them better. And that's what it would be small steps. I don't mind gradual, qualitative like improvements.
Right. Right. And as teachers, you're gonna see their growth, how no matter how big or how small, firsthand. So definitely, and I think that any extra time with them would show them that you do understand that they are struggling. You're not gonna make it known to everybody, but you are there as a reinforcement. I know you said you like to be a facilitator, which is awesome. But like any referee, when it gets out of hand, you gotta jump in, intervene. When I'm sure you do a great job of that. What about since you are big on whole group for 10 to 15 minutes? I know you're probably gonna be biting your tongue, but it is just auditory, or it is you catering to those two. Maybe you're like standing a little closer to their group and really, being explicit about your instruction, and then go right back to what you're used to. I know
See,
it's
that's
gonna be.
where you hit you're exactly right. Be more explicit about my instruction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, my style is not explicit. I
Right.
want to discover, but I think not everybody learns that way.
Right.
And not everybody can discover something.
Right.
So I do need to be more explicit at times, and that's my problem. I don't feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and especially because we know what we know, and like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say it this way. And you're gonna get it because I said it this way. And a lot of times, and that'll work for 95% of the kids, but there's gonna be that one or two with that loss, like, and it's so frustrating. Trust me, I've been there. So what do we care? I just said it. And then you change one word, they're like, oh, okay.
That's the way it is. I mean, it's so like they said, I think in this post, it was like the death is in the details. Like you never know what's going to set their mind down that path.
Exactly.
You just find it.
Right. But knowing how open, how understanding you are, I don't think it would be an issue for you. And even that you're aware of it, it may be foreign or unfamiliar, but knowing how diligent you are with everything you do, it shouldn't be an issue.
Appreciate that.
No problem. So definitely, I know you learn best kinesthetically, and it seems like the majority of your students do too. Our focus going forward is going to be those auditory learners, and implementing strategies, maybe implementing it in the daily instruction or the whole group instruction, a reinforcement during we call it centers. What do you call it after?
Station centers.
Okay, right, same thing. Okay. So maybe during that time, having them rotate to you, double check, make sure they're understanding. Um, because knowing you and just from these couple interactions, it seems like the kinesthetic like they'll get it automatically. Like that's just part of your teaching. So you shouldn't. I don't think that seems like a really strong part of your teaching. Um, but definitely, if you take that extra steps with them, I'm sure it'll get them on level. Um, so you said you would want me to come by maybe a couple days or help you model. We can even role play you being a student, I'll be a teacher.
Yes, yes, I would love that. That would probably be the first thing I would like to do, just so I could get the view of the student. I always like to put myself in their shoes. I mean, that's just what I do when I teach. So it would give me a feeling of how they're feeling. So I would like to do that first, and then you could come in and then maybe observe me, and then we could make a rubric or something for the post-test. I mean, pre-test, post-test.
Okay. Okay, definitely. Just text me or just email me whatever day you're available next week, and I'll make sure to stop by.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
No problem. Um, okay, so we'll work on getting the pre-test and post-test together. I'll research a couple different ways to appeal to auditory learners and share whatever resources I get. That way, you can have a variety of opportunities and things available to your use.
Thank you.
We'll make sure to reevaluate, get back together at a later date to assess how everything went. And you say you're data driven, as am I. So we'll be able to compare our data from the baseline, the pre-test, and the post-test. And I would like to see also any anecdotal notes you take in regard to their motivation and their willingness, whatever you notice in between that time, the pre-test and post-test, and when we meet again.
Okay.
Any questions for me?
Oh man, was it great? I don't have any questions. I feel good. I feel like you really gave me some, like, honestly, this is a weakness of mine, and the role playing cards, that simple thing, like, I like to do really short and fast things, like in and out.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we talked in your session about transitions. It's easy for me to transition because I know how to get in and get out. And I think once you can do that, the class moves more fluidly.
Right.
I think with that,
I'm sorry?
it's going to change me a little.
I'm glad that's what I'm here for, bud. Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to stop.